Good morning, everybody out there. And thank gosh that nothing came of those crazy storms that were moving their way from west to east. And boy, did Missouri get plowed in. So, geez. Yeah, I think it's somewhere south of St. Louis is what happened. Something happened and the tornadoes just took them out. So I don't ever get too comfortable. Especially when they're projecting that we're going to get 60-mile-an-hour winds, and you see these shelf clouds and roll clouds come rolling in off Lake Erie or off different places or left of my computer screen. It's coming from west to east. I will never, ever be complacent, ever take anything for granted, because shit can happen like that. Shit can happen so quick that, and so, but luckily nothing really came of it. I mean, I did take a tiny bit of a nap yesterday, and I did feel the heat and all that because, there was definitely particle acceleration or we wouldn't have the rain. But it wasn't as aggressive as it was a couple weeks ago when I felt like super drunk and all that. And I'm using that as a point of reference because that probably feeling that way when I actually had the demons within, right? When I had all those demons and curses and spells and gifts within, that's what probably got me sick, like super sick, where I couldn't get out of bed, or I didn't want to go on Facebook Live, or I felt a certain way. And so when you finally release those demons, whatever they are, and you're not being controlled by those demons, then the laughter, the hormones that are at the surface, because when you see something, you laugh, right? When you see something funny, you laugh. Very rarely do you really cry unless you force yourself to go to a movie that makes you cry, or you're around someone that is abusing you and they make you cry. But if you're into self-preservation, you want to be around people that make you cry all the time. So laughter is probably the easiest hormone as a go-to for in my opinion, it's for people that have released their demons, and that's what the easiest hormone to go to. Now, when I was watching Born on the 4th of July, I almost cried. I was actually tearing up because it was so traumatic watching that poor guy go through all of that and then realizing he was used as a tool. And I know now why my mother did not want me watching that, because I would have been questioning my government. I would have been traumatized. I would have become an anti-government, a conspiracy theorist. And if her left-wing world that was fighting against the right-wing world, if that was how you want to characterize it back then, was going to be in control in the future, she wouldn't want me going against the left-wing world. She'd want me to shield me from that, because eventually in the future, the left wing is going to take control. And that's kind of what's going on right now. And I'm not saying it's bad or good. It's just what is. There is that balance, and you have to understand both sides of the issue. You can't be too conservative, can't be too liberal, because then you leave yourself open. Too conservative, you're too closed. So you got to balance out both sides. We're finding out that many people who are very, very conservative and who can't move from their previous predecessor's point of view, they're so close that they're willing to do themselves in. But you can't be so open that you let everything in, and then it attacks you, and then now you're left with nothing, and you don't have the strength to deal with the attacks. And so you have to be somewhat open and closed. Now, with my Facebook, it's open for everybody. Like, I'm actually living my belief system that I'm an open system. So my Facebook is open. But those that want to come in and attack me. So now I have an open system, and things are coming in and attacking me and make disparaging marks against me and always want to challenge me all the time. Then I block and delete. Those are the antibodies that my body produces, that my Facebook produces, to block the attack so I don't get inundated and overrun by demons. Okay, so you have to understand, I'm actually exemplifying an open system through my Facebook and through my business page. Again, I'll let anything in, but if you start attacking me and you start trying to commandeer and get really emotional and over influential, then it's like block, delete, block, delete. So So that's why I block and delete. If you ever wonder, why does Jillian block and delete all this conversation? Believe me, it's not conversation. I've gone back and forth with people who were countering whatever I'm saying. But it comes to a point where it's just too much. You know, how much energy do you want to expend doing that major energy conversion called arguing and trying to convert somebody to your belief system, trying to prove yourself to that person. They're trying to prove themselves to you. Each person is trying to convert and make you say, oh, you're right, or oh, you're wrong, or oh, whatever. And it's a waste of energy. It's a fucking waste of energy. And so then I have to block those type of demons. And why do you call them demons? Because, so I can bet you when I was really sick, I didn't go on Facebook Live in here, but maybe in the kitchen, and I'm moving around, and you couldn't see any orbs or demons around me because I'm moving around. Okay? That was over in the kitchen when I would do my Facebook Lives, or I'm doing stuff where I'm walking around. It's hard to see little ambient energy, orbs of energy rustling around when you're walking around. So when I'm in a stationary situation like this, then you can see potential energy around me if I'm in that space of being inundated and overrun and even attacked or by different energy frequencies or little orbs of energy. And I'm so glad we saw that, because now we have something tangible that I could actually prove that there is little orbs of energy that are in people and also surround them relative to what's going on. And the environment has to support you seeing that. Okay, so why is it that Zach Bagan can see ghosts through well, he has really sensitive cameras, but those ghost hunters have sensitive cameras. They have specific types of equipment, and they're in a high energetic place like a prison system where there's a lot of death and destruction, or they're on a battlefield, or they're in a graveyard. Okay, but something like my house, I mean, I'm the one that has the energy. I'm the one that either attracts the energy, repels it, and develops it. My husband's gone most of the time. Okay, and so I don't do too much Facebook Live with him. So he doesn't do Facebook Live. So if he did have any kind of ambient energy emanating off of him that looked like little orbs, you would never see it because he never would go on Facebook Live. I could barely even get a picture with him and I together. Very, very, very few and far between, because he's very camera shy. And you'd be like, oh, you think he's a demon because he doesn't want to see the camera? Like, some people are just camera shy, and maybe they have their own demons that they have to figure out why it is that they're camera shy. Or some people are so into the camera so much all the time because you're putting off an image. They're trying to sell something. And when you're in an occupation, or you are your own entrepreneur, you're trying to sell something in your world, then you're always, putting either filters on, makeup on, or showing how pretty your family is. And now you also run a business, and so you should buy your product because we should buy your product because you are a family person and you're also well put together and you have a great group of friends. I mean, that's all the marketing world, okay? And that's also another demon out there, because yes, we're being sold something. Do we need what they're selling? Who knows? It just depends. Everybody has their thing. And so you have to understand that demons come in all shapes and sizes, and there's intentions behind it, and also angels. But who are the angels? Who determines who angels are? Well, that's the thing. I don't want to say who's an angel and who's a demon, because that's not for me to say. But we know when it comes to the material world, and it comes to desires, and it comes to addictions, and it comes to all that stuff, and wants and needs and all that, the demons and the angels come out, and they're trying to sell you something or trying to get something from you. And it's crazy having to discern who is an angel and who's a demon. And then you have to know who you are, because you could be giving something to somebody so you can control them, or you could be taking something from somebody to control them. And so you have to understand your own intentions around people, places, and things. And so that's something that's all individual, and we attract what we get. Okay, so if you're always having issues with stuff, and you're always needing stuff and whatever, because you're always around people who are taking so much from you, always, and so you're always in deficit, always needing from somebody else. And so when you finally fulfill yourself, you're not going to need so much from other people, and then you realize that your whole circle of people will change. Your lifestyle, your belief system, everything will change. So last night, I was so expecting that the tornadoes were going to come right through, because you saw all that green. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't if you're in Ohio. But it was green, it was yellow, it was red. You're like, fuck. And then I'm doing the fast, time lapse type of fast forwarding of the Doppler, and it started breaking up. You could see as it was moving, as everything was moving to the right, as it was going fast forwarding through time, it was breaking up. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to bed now, because there's no reason to stay up and be like ready. But believe me, I don't take anything for granted. I assume that I'm gonna lose everything, and I don't bring in what I can't stand to lose. I don't take in what I can't stand that would bankrupt me if I lost it. That's the thing that we have to do in a lot of ways, so you don't die from loss, is that can you take on people, places, and things, and people, places, and things, and afford to lose them? Because life is gambling. When you're taking on children, taking on animals, taking on friends and family and money, can you gamble all of that and afford to lose everything and still stay alive? And some people, if they lose their whole family, they lose their job, they lose their religion, they lose all that stuff, they can't survive. And so when you're taking on things that if you lost everything and you wouldn't survive and you would rather die than not have all that stuff, then then not only you're gambling, but you're gambling to lose. And that's a lot of the people out there in the world. They've gambled, but they've gambled to lose. And they know it, because if they lost everything, they wouldn't be able to live. They wouldn't be able to survive. They couldn't start over again. And that's what's going on right now out there, in tornado country, tornado alley. People are gambling with their life, gambling with their family, and they know they can't afford to lose everything, because who would they be if it wasn't for their kids, if it wasn't for their mom, their dad, their sister, their brother, their occupation? And so in reality, a lot of people are gambling to lose. And it sucks to watch, because you know that at some point, when the cards are stacked against them, they won't be able to handle it when things actually go awry and they don't have what it takes to deal with that loss. Okay? And that's the curse. Those are curses that were put upon you from people from thousands and 6,000 years ago. Imhotep, the Romans, the Rosicrucians way back when they developed a whole advanced society, Hammurabi and him developing the laws. I mean, this has all been planned ever since like 6, 7, 10,000 years ago. Probably even way beyond that. But we can probably go as far back as 6,000 years ago. 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 years ago. That's where most people have a relationship, is with like the Bible or with all these old texts and doctrines. That's how they now base their life on, is something from like 6,000 years ago. Okay? And so now I'm on Facebook Live after yesterday's activity, and I realized that we were not going to get hit. So I'm like, okay, cool. And I did take a nap before 5 o'clock, because that's what they said. 5 o'clock, we're going to see some stuff. And it was raining hard. I'll say it was raining hard, but that was it. But I took a nap and I ate a bunch of food, because you never know. Shit. I'm thinking of the worst, because you got to think in that manner. If you don't, then you will be devastated when it does happen. Okay? You have to prepare yourself for such aggressive loss. There's no way you can't, not in this world. And so it was fine. So I went to bed and was watching actually The Crown on Netflix. That's why I'm like, oh, look, The Crown, Corona. Oh, look at York, England, and in New York, in the United States. I'm like, oh yeah, we are a colony of England. Okay. We already knew this. Okay. And were we really born on the 4th of July, or were we just another experiment? Oh, we're another experiment. We're the last greatest experiment. America is. Okay. But we have all this ritual and symbolism and holiday, so that way we have some kind of meaning behind our culture, like giving us a reason of why we're here, giving us a purpose, giving us some kind of, potential to work into, to live into. And if you've lost the desire for anything and you lose your potential, then the system is a place for you. Okay. So anyways, so when I was really sick, I never went on Facebook Live. So I came back on when I felt relatively better. So you didn't really see too many of the orbs around me when I was sick. And so this last couple of weeks, since I felt like I was drunk, I wasn't drunk, but I was actually going through an assimilation, and there was those orbs around me, probably because I've heard things and I'm sure I've seen weird things during that process because of that energy frequency shift. And so then I go on Facebook Live, just doing whatever I do because I feel good. I mean, imagine being sick and you're dealing with energy inside of you and you're not laid out flat bemoaning your situation. You're not feeling anxiety. You're not feeling pain. You're not feeling, weakness. You're not feeling anything. You don't need to go check yourself into a doctor. You don't really feel like you're actually being brave and doing something different. I mean, you're just doing your thing. Imagine being sick and not being sick. Imagine going through an energy conversion and you're not freaking sick. That's where I want to be. That's where I want to be. That's what I want, is to be sick and go through an energy conversion through the evolution, adapt to my environment, and not be fucking sick, laid out flat, gone for days. But that if I have to take a nap, I take a nap. If I'm hungry, like I was really hungry, I eat food. Now, remember when I was like, holy crap, this coffee, remember the Cafe Bustelo, and I really felt like, holy shit, right now, drinking this coffee made me just go really on overload. That was probably a sickness, a sort of part of that whole energy conversion of being sick, but it wasn't something that I could even put a diagnosis on. But as I look back, hindsight, because I'm drinking coffee, but maybe 1 spoonful less of the espresso. Yesterday, I felt fine. There was none of that feeling like I was on overload or over anxiety ridden or anything. If anything, I actually was able to fall asleep. So that way I knew if I had to stay up all night and battle the storm, I could do it. And so, yeah. So even the feelings of assimilating, it's like being kind of like over the rainbow when you hear about that when people going through a lobotomy, and that's what we hear in the conspiracy world, the MK Ultra, when you're getting those electroshock therapy, and then so you're getting all these frequencies being shoved into your brain, right? Because you have those things on top on each side, Wizard of Oz, or Return to Oz. That was a darker version of Wizard of Oz. Well, they felt lightheaded, they felt dizzy, they felt like, oh my God. And so imagine having that happen on a mass scale, and if that's susceptible to energy and people feel dizzy, people feel lightheaded, they feel over the rainbow. And then you have all the tornadoes come in. When you have a bunch of tornadoes come in and you have the frequencies, which happened first? The tornadoes or the frequencies? Well, the frequencies had to happen to ramp up because the day before yesterday, the day before yesterday, it was warm. It was like 61, like 80 degrees yesterday, actually. Before that is ramping up to 61 degrees, 62, 72. And you can feel the frequencies. You feel it. You can feel the everything ramp up. You can feel it all. And so that's like that's like radiation, electroshock therapy on a mass scale. And then it turns into the tornadoes later on, as then they bring in the cold and the warm and then the jet stream and all those things are meeting together, the high pressure and the low pressure, then bam, you have now these developing conditions. And people feel stuff. Some people will feel stuff and they won't say anything. They just think that they have a sickness or they're under the influence so much, which actually leads me to believe that when people who are highly under the influence, whether it's cannabis, or other pills, powder supplements and detoxes, or they don't have enough food in their body, so they don't have enough, so that maybe I don't know. Some people don't feel the frequencies, or if they do, they immediately anesthetize themselves or find something, or they're like, oh wow, I feel that's my blood pressure. I remember my husband was saying that he felt something, he felt dizzy like on Saturday. He's like, and he felt his blood pressure go up, and I'm like, oh yeah, you felt the frequency, honey. And he's like, no, it's just my blood pressure. And I'm like, well, where do you think your blood pressure going up comes from? It's not spontaneous, okay? Energy can't be created or destroyed, only converted. So there's an outside influence that caused your blood pressure to go up at that moment in time. But, I mean, am I going to say this to him all the time? No, he's like, oh no, it's my blood pressure. Okay, fine. Okay, so those little orbs are around me and that are in everybody. That's your cancer disease, chronic illness, autoimmune disorders. They are like fairies and demons. And they give you your whole world. And they can be programmed, okay? When you keep reinforcing your fairies and demons to believe in something, I don't care what it is, your politics, your religion, your scientific dogmas, that's your reality. That's the only reality you know until you know how to release those demons. And program your body in a different way so you can survive this. Because there's no guarantee if you're not releasing those demons that you're going to survive and stay alive for as long as you think you're going to stay alive based upon your belief system in the medical, holistic, whatever else. Okay? And so those little orbs are like little fairies and demons, angels and demons, casting spells, giving gifts, applying curses. And so you know what the mother's curse is, right? Mother's curse is she has all of her demons. She doesn't really get rid of them. No, she anesthetizes them, maybe cuts out some of them, but there's still stuff left. And she passes her demons, her curses, her gifts to her children. But the mother's curse is you're going to have a kid that's just like you or completely opposite of you. Okay? And so I remember that mother telling me that that's the mother's curse, is that she's going to have a daughter or a son that's going to be just like her or so opposite that she won't know how to relate to it. And I'm like, yeah, I see that because that's all genetics. Okay? And so obesity, emaciation, pain, those are the gifts, the curses, and the spells, those little orbs of energy cast on your body as they make their way in. Okay, so when you look at those little orbs of energy of that one transmission that I did, and they were going left, right, and center, and all around and whatever, that has intelligence. Those little orbs of energy have intelligence. And what they do is they pretend they have a little wand with a little star, and they do abracadabra. And some of them are so intelligent that they can cast little spells. And sometimes those spells will be like obesity. And then you reinforce those spells by taking the medications, which cause you to close up your system because you don't want to feel your body trying to release. And so then you get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger over time. And I see that in children, that they were once relatively proportional, but they have the curse of their parents because their mom maybe is a bit bigger and has a bigger personality and a bigger body. And so then you see the child are cursed with that genetic curse. That those little wands and the little star at the end of the wand, like Glenda the Good Witch or the little fairy princesses like Sleeping Beauty, okay? They're casting spells on the body, and then the outcome, you see the outcome, is then now you have the children the way they are, and they're growing up in that specific curse, gift, spell, whatever you want to call it. And so, yeah, these frequencies do wake up the demons. These frequencies wake up the demons. They wake up the gifts too. Because even when I was sick, I was having so many revelations and so many different just new thought processes. So I was waking up the gifts within me as well as dealing with the curses that were cast upon me from the medical holistic system, from even my own parents, my biological parents, and whatever that my parents, my adopted parents may have cast upon me, as far as that Ouija board and anything else that was going on. Okay, so I was dealing with both the angels and the demons when I was actually sick with COVID and then all the different offshoots thereafter. And even within the last summer when I was dealing with that mycoplasma, which was the curse, a major curse, because I did have pneumonia as a child and they were giving me sulfa as an antibiotic. And I remember having an antibiotic reaction, taking that sulfa again for a UTI, and ended in the hospital when I was like 19 or 20, where my white blood cell count was too high. And so they had to go in and release some demons through the hospital system. They were probably using the saline solution to dilute and break up all that stuff. All right. But yeah. So you could have the curses and the gifts and the spells all come out together. And then how do you get rid of the demons? I'm telling you, there's this girl on my Facebook that I keep trying to, I try to help the last couple of years. She doesn't understand my help, so I don't help her anymore. But, you releasing the demon, just pulling out that demon out of your alimentary canal. People ask, well, how the hell? I mean, I'm eating so much food and I'm gaining weight. Well, yeah, you have a closed system. You're probably not pulling out the shit. It's in my book, if you fucking read it, but nobody wants to read the freaking book. I mean, even though it's only $5 on Amazon Kindle, oh no, I can't fucking read. I can't follow, even look at what you're doing. If you can't, here's the thing. Now, I understand. If you're too big and you can't pull out your own poop, I'm sorry. You're going to have to do different things, like maybe you got to do your enemas and use whatever. Okay, fine. So I don't know how big she is or how small she is. I have no idea. But that's how you pull out that's how you release the demons. Is you cough, sneeze, you blow your nose, and you poop. But you're not using waterfalls like from the J Juice all the time. Because even then, if you're obese and you're trying to release demons, you can't be doing waterfalls all the time because you'll cure yourself. C-U-R-E. And so how do you gain the gifts and get rid of the spells and the curses and the demons? How do you have the angels in you? You literally have to understand where I'm coming from in my book. You literally have to probably do the work. It's not like eat this food and now everything's great. It's not like, oh, I drink milk and everything is wonderful. No, you hear me in the morning, I am coughing, I am sneezing, I'm blowing my nose. I am doing the work to work out all the fucking demons that happen to be overnight. All the replication. It's work. It's fucking work to stay alive in this world. You used to be given everything. You used to have, medical and holistic people are going in you and pulling stuff out and taking out stuff and all that. Or telling you take this, eat that. Some people are so used to have someone telling them what to do that they can't even fathom to do their own fucking work. That's what I'm saying. Most people will not get the J world because they are asking recommendations and handouts from everybody on Facebook. You really think they're going to have the capacity to actually pull out their own programming of the demons? When you think about it, releasing the demons? Oh, fuck no. They want to take a pill, a powder, something, a detox. They want to do a surgery. They don't have the capacity to understand where I'm coming from because remember, they've been programmed to be a slave. That's the issue that I'm up against, is that I have people that say they want to be free. Oh, I want to be free. Oh my God, I'm such a slave and this and that. And they can't even do their own work. And when you are a free person, you have to do a lot of your own work and then work with the collective on a minimal scale. Because you're still part of a collective, an infrastructure. But as soon as you keep taking from everyone around you, and you see, and you if someone offers you something, that's great. But when you're like, hey, I want this, someone go get me this, someone recommend this, someone do this for me, then you are taking so much, you won't have the capacity to even fathom doing your own fucking work. That doesn't even cross your mind. So I know most people, even in the J world, don't even get this. Okay? And so obesity, emaciation, those are the gifts, the curses, the spells, those little orbs of energy cast on your body as they make their way in. And they're comparing themselves. They're like, oh yeah, my friends can eat a lot more and they never gain weight. But whenever I eat everything you're saying to eat, I'm gaining so much weight. Well, maybe you need to pull out the poop. And if you are already so big, then you're going to have to find ways to get that out. And it could be you have to do enemas. And I'm not saying do the J juice through your system. You can do warm water enemas. I mean, it sucks because who wants to stick foreign objects in your body? But if you're that big and you can't do things to pull out your own stuff, then you're going to have to find different ways to do it. And you're going to have to feel pain too. But do you think that runs across her mind? No, she doesn't want to feel pain. She wants to just take something and think that's going to be the magic thing. Sorry, but there is no magic when you think about it. What's the magic is all the spells. What's the magic is these little orbs of energy that are going in and casting spells on your cells. Curses and gifts. But people don't look at it that way because they don't want to see themselves on camera. Because it's like, yeah, let me tell you, it took me a minute because I had all my own demons to deal with when I got on camera. I wasn't looking at the camera right off the bat. I was having the camera face the other way. I wasn't looking at myself. I mean, I was so, just so self-conscious. Those are the demons speaking. Those are all your demons saying that you're ugly, you're this, you're that, you can't do this, you can't do that. Until I started getting braver and braver, saying, you know what, fuck it, I don't care if I look crazy. And so finally, I was able to do that. But that's the thing is that you have to be the one to figure out what you're willing to do as far as getting out the demons. And that takes work. It's not something that you do like with a pill, a powder, or food, whatever. But anyway, so yeah, those little orbs of energy are what is causing you to be who you are and to have your belief system. And so you must have a strong immune system to repel the curses and to gently apply the gifts and to assimilate to the spells. Because I'm saying people on Facebook, they cast spells on you all the time. All the time. Every time you speak, you cast a spell on someone. And whoever reads it will then internalize it. But then if they have a weak immune system, they will be destroyed. Even if you're all about love, 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 they'll be destroyed by your love. They'll be destroyed by your hate. They'll be destroyed by your, all of your platitudes. That's what I'm saying. You have to be the one to have the strongest immune system ever to be able to take in the gifts to repel the curses and the spell, or assimilate to the spells and repel the curses. And I'm telling you, some people internalize the curses. And so, yeah. And so that's the thing, is that this whole J world is not for, it's not for those that are looking for someone to make them all better, or to make them look good, or no. The J world is so individual. It is so beyond our current society when you think about it. And I'm not tooting my own horn, because I already see it out there. I already see the lack of individuality, or the lack of really wanting to do the work as far as keeping yourself alive and your kids alive. It's all, I got to fit in with everybody around me. It's the social capital. And it's all, and people feed off each other. That's why no one's making any major differences in all these politics, religion, and science. Because if anyone actually did something different in their world, they would, all of their little friends would be like demons and say, oh God, you can't do this, you can't do that. And they keep each other behind bars. They keep each other jailed. Your friends and family keep you jailed. But that, you won't look at that way. Remember, it's a velvet coffin for a lot of people. The velvet coffin of public validation. A velvet coffin of your friends and family reinforcing your jail cell. And of course, you put curses on your own children too. So when the weather changes, or frequency shifts, when the weather gets hotter or colder, every single pain in your body are those angels and demons waking up, and you won't tell the difference. You won't tell the difference between them, because remember, you have been told that pain is bad, and so you're told to cure it. You're told to surgically take it out. You're told to anesthetize it, and you're told to transplant it with something else, somebody else's curses and gifts and spells. And so that's why most people will not understand the J world, because guess what? They're going to anesthetize themselves. They're going to go and get lost in their addictions. They're going to go get it surgically taken out, replaced, transplanted. Oh gosh, yeah. So I don't mind being the one that is going against a major, I don't mind being the one to be the black sheep of the world, because most of the world they won't be able to get this. And so when I said no questions on my Facebook about, oh gosh, what do I do because I'm gaining so much weight? I was going through, did you see me a couple of years ago and back in 2020, and I looked like I was just blowed up. I had big boobs. I was huge. I actually gained a lot of weight when the COVID first came around, 2020. But I didn't care. You know why? Because I had to go through those processes. I didn't care if I looked like a freaking whale. I didn't care if I had boobs, I had a belly, I had a butt, I had thighs. I didn't care. Because I knew my body was going through an energy conversion. I didn't want to go and be like, oh, I got to be skinny and I got to be this and I got to be that. That's someone buying into all the bullshit of all the marketing. Of all, oh, I have to look sexual so you can go get somebody to go and have sex with you. So you can get a man. I already have a man. I have a husband. So I didn't need to feel like, and even if I didn't have my husband, I wouldn't care if I looked fat. I didn't care if I looked bloated. I didn't care if I looked puffy. I just went with it. I dealt with all the fluctuations. I accepted the whole process of evolution. It's not always looking a certain way. It's going to fucking change. And if you can't even adopt that your body has to change, your mind has to change, your spirit has to change, it's called evolution, you won't fucking get this because you're too busy getting validation from your friends, your family, your political, your religious, all of your different social, capital, that change is not even in the fucking works for you. You don't mind getting older and older and older and disappear. You'll justify it. Because remember, it's all about the now. That's most of society. That's most of my J world. Not all of it. That's most of my J world. They haven't figured it out, and they won't. That's why I was done with the group, because the group was a waste of time. I was just speaking to only a few people that got it. Very few people that understand the J world. Very few. Most of them are always still in the holistic world, taking their pills, power supplements, and promoting all the different alchemists. Because they don't want to feel pain. It gets in the way of whatever. Well, okay. That's fine. I get it. But you think that if you don't make a change somewhere, you think your kids are going to be able to survive this really aggressive environment with you already having issues and you're deteriorating that quickly? But remember, some people are bigger, right? So they have a lot more opportunity for energy conversion, and so they won't actually pass away too quickly, and their kids have a better chance to redirect. So as long as they get them before they're like 100 pounds, 80 pounds, 70 pounds. But some people have a lot more body to them, so they're able to play those games of, oh, I'll need a cure or surgery because they have body to them. But those that are skinny, that weigh next to nothing, you think they have a chance to to deal with all these energy conversions and be on diets and getting cures and having issues with mucus and all that and not be able to release the demons and eat all the food in the food supply and drink milk and all that? So the skinny kids out there, the skinny kids with the skinny parents, holy shit. But even the really obese, people will have to figure out how they're going to manage all of that energy in their body and release and still stay alive. But I'll tell you, man, you have to understand that you got to be proportional and even be more than proportional, have a little bit of reserve in this environment. So you have the ability to convert that energy without dying in the process. So those that die from heart attacks, they didn't have enough strength or enough electrolytes to push that stuff through. So there's blockage. So they could be obese or they could be regularly proportional. See, that's the thing with vital organs is that a person can look relatively normal. And if they have a weak heart, weak lungs, weak liver, weak whatever, they're done. But yeah, when you're super skinny, could you have a strong heart? You could, if you have really dense bones and dense this, but it's hard to say. But if you already have, people are breaking their arms and breaking their legs and breaking bones, that shows that you have lack of calcium, lack of bone density. When kids are already breaking their arms and legs, they don't have nearly enough of the energy in their body to be able to convert it to survive their lifestyle as well as the environment. Bone breakage is the first indicator that you have a weak infrastructure. When you're breaking bones, that's like, holy shit. When kids are breaking bones in this environment, that's a major indicator they're going to have an issue with energy conversion. And of course, their parents will be like, oh, hey, take this, take that, do this, do that. Okay, fine, whatever. And so you could be skinny with strong bones. However, that's not everything. Because I'll tell you, your lifestyle and this environment, the particle acceleration, is going to take so much more than you even know because it's so aggressive out there. But again, when people are taking all their herbs and their extracts and under the influence, they won't have any indicators. And so then all the orbs and all those fairies and demons, angels and demons, casting spells and all that stuff on your body, mind, and spirit, and then people are afflicted. I mean, the last couple of weeks, I see people come back on Facebook because they've been sick for the last couple of weeks, like I was, but I was on Facebook every day, not realizing I was actually sick. That's how I want to be sick and go through an energy conversion where people don't even know that I'm sick. But you see it in my face, I guess, but I was still energetic. I still feel the energy. Oh yeah, I was hungry. So I was eating up a storm during that process. See, when people are sick nowadays, they don't hardly eat anything because they're too sick. I can't eat this, I can't eat that. But see, when I'm sick, I'm fucking eating everything. See, that's completely the opposite of people being sick out there in the matrix. So when you're sick in bed and you're just drinking a little bit of chicken soup and hardly eating anything, yeah, you're on your way out the door because you're starving. You're fucking starving. And when I'm sick, I feel the energy, I'm energetic, and I have clarity of thought, and I'm eating. And I eat a lot. So I can make up for that difference. That's the difference. I have flipped the poles in the J world. For me, some of you won't even get there because you refuse to actually get out of your own way. You have too much of an image to maintain. And I'm sorry, I tried. Believe me, I fucking tried. But it took me many years. It took me changing everything, going against the flack of people out there that were telling me I was stupid, I was this, I was that you should be out there, you should have a bunch of friends and have this and have that. No. I see where having a bunch of friends gets you. You're so distracted that you're not taking care of yourself. Oh, but you have a bunch of kids, or you don't have a bunch of kids. No, I mean, if you have a bunch of kids, you can still take care of yourself. Because your kids are going to have to take care of themselves at some point. It doesn't mean that you let them out there and then they go run off and, no, but you take care of yourself and you put down boundaries, but you still take care of yourself. Just because you have kids doesn't mean that you now become the human fucking sacrifice. That's what goes on. And all these mommies are like, oh yeah, I'm the ultimate mother and I will sacrifice my life for my children. And now you want to become a saint to everybody. You're like, oh yeah, she is the all saintly mother that sacrifices her body, mind, and spirit for her children. And then that's what you're teaching your children. They all be the human sacrifice. So in a lot of ways, that whole mentality is what the system wants to happen. Because when the environment ramps up, your kids are going to look to you and say, okay, every time I feel a pain, I can't take this, I don't eat this, I don't do eat, and that's the depopulation agenda. Is having the mothers become the all saintly, all sacrificing, the human sacrifice. And it is what I can't get in the way of that. I can't, because remember, oh, these are my kids. I'm the saintly mother. Yeah, okay. We'll see how far that gets you. Don't say I didn't warn you, because it's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse and worse. This is not the end. Believe me, this is far from the fucking end. We're getting chipped away storm by storm. It's already April 6th, and we already have back-to-back tornadoes with different towns being just plowed over. And people are just like, oh yeah, nothing's wrong, everything's great. Here, look at what I'm making, look what I'm doing. Okay, great, okay. I guess if you feel that hopeless, that you're just willing just to let, the universe just destroy you, okay. Oh, that's right. Your religion is making you, is what do you call it? Giving you absolution. That's why religion was there, is to give people absolution. So that way they never really have to take responsibility. Now, why am I saying this? Why do I even care? Because there's some people out there. I don't care who, it's not really most of my J crowd. There's only a few that they already know where I'm coming from, so I'm not talking to them. They know where I'm coming from, so I just leave them alone. But there's people in my J world that maybe have somebody in their world because that are listening to me and watching you play your games of being the all saintly this and all saintly that and whatever. But they're watching, they're like, oh shit. And they're juxtapositioning what I'm saying and what you're doing and what I'm doing. And they're going to be on the fence and they're going to make a choice for themselves. Because you're going to be an example of what not to do. I might be an example if they have the wherewithal to deal with the pain. They have the capital to give them a space to do this because they have to have money coming in. They have to have climate control. They have to have a bed to sleep in. They have to have a house. Okay, they got to be around delivery services in case they need to have stuff delivered to them. Okay, so there's some people that will have the capacity to do what I'm doing. And they are really glad to have that kind of exposure and to juxtaposition what's going on out there. And they have a choice. That's why I do this, to give people choices. I can't convert the unconverted. There's no fucking way. I can make observations because that's what we do out there. We make observations. We don't call people out. We don't confront them. We don't try to convert them. We don't try to bully them. But if you fit whatever I'm saying, well, there's probably 1,000 of you that will fit what I'm saying. It's not just you, because there's so many clones of you out there with the same mentality, the same everything, the same religion, the same politics, the same scientific dogmas. You're not special. I'm not special. And so if you think I'm talking to you, well, just look behind you. And then the person look behind them, and you will see the clones behind you. They'll all be like, Jillian's talking about me. She's doing it. Yeah, well, there's a million of you. All right. And so if you want to really change society, it starts with yourself. Because again, you can still keep your kids safe and you can still take care of yourself and not pass away. You don't have to give everything of yourself to your children. Because at some point they're going to have to fend for themselves. If they can't fend for themselves and you're dead, mom and dad, because you haven't figured it out, what do they have? What kind of chance do they have? If mom and dad dies at some point or is dying, what chance do your fucking kids have? That's what they said. What is it? The orcas, if the grandmother of the orcas die sooner than later, than the grandchildren die. Yeah. Yeah, because they're watching mom and dad destroy themselves. And then they're also taking in all the bullshit from their mom and dad. That's why they promoted families for such a long time, because they were able to say, okay, here, do what mom and dad does and be a farmer, be a lawyer, teacher, doctor, whatever, and that's fine. You have all this redundancy in the population because we needed it, because they were doing major, human experimentation and all of that, nation building. And so now the poles have flipped. Now they're like, nope, no more families. We're trying to control the births, and now we have this different stuff with sexual orientation. So now, with the environment so aggressive, and you're still doing the same thing over and over again you did back in the old world, mom and dad, now you can see an expeditious destruction on you, mom and dad, as well as in your kids, because they're only going to follow what you do. And of course, the system's going to reinforce that, because remember, the system hasn't changed. The medical system hasn't changed or anything. They've ramped up all their cures and surgeries and therapies. So, and the holistic people too. Don't think because you see a holistic professional with all their herbs and everything, and they're not any different than the allopathic. If anything, they're worse because you think everything is so safe to take on such a level, and then give your kids all these herbs, and now these kids are so cured that they have no real potential to fulfill their potential. Now they're just going to be programmed, and then they'll supernova. That's what's crazy. And maybe somebody who's been groomed for greatness will be like, graduating school in, at 5th grade with 10 degrees because they've been groomed for that, because they have parents who are extremely intellectual, like Fraser Crane and his son. And so they're being groomed for greatness. How many of you have access to that kind of stuff? How many have kids that are actually looking at books and reading stuff and expanding their brain, at least capitalizing on that little burst of energy that the system gave them and that you gave them until they supernova? How many of you know, so, your kids are in video games, or your kids are out there playing with animals? Okay, so they're playing with animals and they're swinging on swings and all that stuff, which is great. Doing stuff that, that we did, 10 years ago in the 80s. Remember, the environment's all ramped up. The environment is so aggressive that doing the old way of living your life and just having no care in the world, and it's all about, swinging on swings and playing with animals, and that's it. Do you realize that shit's changed around you? What chance do your kids have? What chance? But I guess it doesn't matter. Even if they weren't groomed for all that intellectual stuff, they would have to be guided by somebody to say, hey, if you have the knowledge and the type A or type B or blood type, and you have I don't say knowledge, but you have the desire, you have the focus to just read stuff, and then go get a student loan and go apply your mind to something. Because remember, even all the different farmers and farms out there, it's going to go into factory farming, or not in factory farming, but lab stuff. All the traditions are going to be going away at some point. What are you preparing your kids for? That's the thing. I'm not saying do video games. I'm saying find a way to expand your kid's brain, because that's where the system is going. It's not going to be playing outside on swinging on a swing or playing with animals and having a bunch of animals. Okay, it's when you think about it, the system is going towards the brain power. And you can still have animals, but you got to balance out both worlds. But I'm saying you got to watch where the world's going. And do you think that your kids will be able to have a great life doing what you are doing when we're dealing with floods, tornadoes, rampant disease, pandemics, and they're so full of energy and angst, and they haven't released the demons? That's some grim reality. And so anyways, I made a mistake before trying to help one of my friends get their kids to be interested in like the maps of the world and know their multiplication tables, know where states and capitals are. So I bought like a bunch of posters that showed like all the things, the map, the world map, the US map, multiplication tables, the elements of the periodic tables. And I bought their child, their older child, all of that. And it was from something off of Amazon. And I'm like, okay, we'll do like collages of this and all that. And you can put like your dream board of all this stuff and have it in categories, and you cut out stuff in magazines and paste it on there. And I'm like, what am I doing here? This is not my fucking kid. What am I doing here? But I was doing what I was taught. I was taught so much academic stuff. And so I immediately wanted to make that kid smart. And maybe if he had the background to do that, but remember, video games and distractions out there take over academic stuff. And so I'm like, I got to stop doing this. I got to stop trying to turn people into something that they're not, because they don't have that background. They don't have the parents to do that with them. Parents need to be the ones to do that with their kids, to make them better, intellectually, make them better biophysically. What was missing in my world was that I didn't have all the biophysical stuff. So they're trying to, force academics on a body that just couldn't handle all that information. And I was just too erratic because of all this stuff was going on. And they were against the salt, they were against the meat. Well, not so much the meat, but we had milk, but they were against salt and against sugar. Okay? And so if I had all of the foods that I wanted to eat and it wasn't being taken away from me or say, no, that's too much, or you can't eat in between meals, it might ruin your this. And I'm like, okay. But maybe I would have turned out differently. Maybe. But right now our society's so fucked. It's crazy. And so, so that's why I don't do it with anyone's kids, because they're not my children. And I can't go and put a square peg in a round hole. It's up to the parents to make their kids great or to fuck their kids up. It's up to the parents. And we'll see what happens out there in the world. You're like, oh yeah, my kid isn't fucked up. My kid isn't. Okay, I'm not saying your kid is. But I'll say, are they going to be able to survive climate change? Or are they going to follow in your footsteps and take all the pills, pass up into detoxes and operations and everything else? Oh, but I gave him a great life. Well, what the hell is that? I gave him a great life. It's like saying, it's like a dog. Here, adopt this dog and give it a good life. So your kids are just your pet, just to be there temporarily to give you social capital and that's it? Or are you going to give them a fucking future? Oh no, your kids are not for them, they're for you. That's the thing, is when kids are an accessory to the mother's world. That's what pisses me off. Because let me tell you, I felt like I was an accessory on some level. Because I was a little Vietnamese adoptee and it was cute. But no, I didn't have the degree. I didn't go to these great colleges out there, in Lafayette, California, Orinda, Saratoga. And so when we had dinner I went over to dinner with my mom's house one time, and her next door neighbor was the Chilean ambassador, or not ambassador, the diplomat, Chilean diplomat. And we had dinner with them, and I had to ask very intelligent questions about Chile. I had to study up on how to interact with the Chilean diplomat. And it was like, yeah, being kind of like a puppet. But yeah, that was the world that I came into, is learning how to speak to diplomats. Okay? Because that was the neighborhood in that area. And so I'm saying, you got to look where your world's going, moms and dads. Give your kids half a fucking chance out there. Give them a fucking chance. If you don't, then they're going to be so miserable, suffering so much from cancer, disease, chronic illness, and what could have been. But hey, if they're under the influence, like you, they're under the influence and they don't have a fucking care in the world, they're all about their religion, their politics, and their scientific dogmas and partying and everything else, then they'll just supernova. There won't be a chance for them. Because they'll be out there dying in some ditch, drunk off their ass, or under the influence, or under so many surgeries, and there's nothing left to them because everything has been surgically taken out. What kind of fucking world did you give them? You gave them a fucked up world. Now it's time, mom and dad, now in this environment, it's time to redirect. And if not, then that's fine. That's whatever. But I'm giving you my perspective because I know what was missing. And even though that was missing, a lot of that food that I really needed, that I wanted to and needed for fat and everything else, and brain power and releasing some of the demons, it still made me amazing as far as the J world. Okay, but I'll tell you the struggle. And so can I say it's bad or good? But do you think that making your kids struggle with all the surgeries? Because some people won't come back from that. There's people in the world that have been under where I was under, but they've been under so many surgeries. They're under the influence so much. They are in so much pain. They couldn't do what I'm doing. But do you think that you making your kids suffer through religion, through the politics and the scientific dogmas, even though they're suffering because you keep anesthetizing them and giving them everything they fucking want, you think they're going to turn out amazing? Whatever the hell amazing is, do you think they'll survive? Do you really think they will survive the changes that are going on? Remember, we're being given all this energy. We're being given, I don't say all this, the money, because the money is now being held back by high interest rates. So if you want free money, if you want money, you're going to pay out your ass for it. But, I mean, getting a student loan, now, it shouldn't be that hard to get a student loan. If your kid has if your kid figures out, okay, well, I want to be this, and I want to do this. This is where the industry is going, It's going to be in coding. It's going to be in virtual. It's going to be in these different industries, maybe some parts of biotech. And they have the aptitude to do something fucking amazing, whatever it is. I don't care if it's part of the system. Who cares? It's all part of the system. They'll figure out how they're going to balance out their part in it. But at least give them a chance. Give them the fucking chance. But even though, they're like, okay, I'm going to go get student loan, and I'm going to go get this, and I'm going to go get that, blah, blah, blah. Do they have the body, the mind, and the spirit to be able to maintain that? Or are they going to supernova in their third year of college? That they will contract an autoimmune disorder and be taken down because you have those issues. You never purged them out. You never taught them how to purge out those demons without hurting yourself, because you don't want to hurt yourself purging out the demons. But that's the thing is that have you taught your kid how to deal with frequency changes? How to deal with pulling shit out of your ass without doing always the J juice all the time? Have you given your kids that kind of power to know how to deal with sickness, with frequency changes? Have you taught them? If you haven't, then they're a sitting duck. And they can get all the student loans in the world and have the nice family, but how long do you think they will survive? Because again, this environment is so insane. And so even though when you're obese, when you're obese and you're doing Ozempic or not, but you're obese and maybe you're doing so much J juice or not doing so much J juice. And maybe you're staying away from food. So you're starving yourself. So you get skinny, but then you see how fast that track of then dying from not eating. Because you remember, there are so many eating disorders because people have withheld food from themselves because they are obese. They're taking away food systematically. They're always on their herbs or extracts or detoxes, on their surgeries. They are just all over the medical holistic system. And the medical holistic system is taking them down exponentially, and the children exponentially. And it was all designed that way, at your own hand, at the mother's hand. It's like declaring war. Like again, war is declared as soon as you take somebody to the medical holistic, you withhold food, and you don't understand how to deal with releasing the demons without hurting yourself, without going to Tractor Supply and getting some stupid concoction from Tractor Supply. Okay? So I feel for the children out there. I really do. Many of them don't really have a chance when you think about it. It'll just it'll be like, okay, grow up and have some kind of thought of their future. But if they don't have it physically, biophysically, it's not going to matter how many dreams, how big their dreams are. It's not going to matter that you say, oh, they're going to be a CEO of a company, or they're going to be this amazing person or that amazing person. If they don't have it within them and you already have issues, you think your kids are going to be able to fulfill their potential. They might be pretty, they might be cute, gorgeous or whatever, but I'll tell you, this environment, they'll look cute for a minute and then you'll see the life get sucked out of them. They'll look cute, they'll look skinny, they'll have like the perfect little face, right? For a minute. You'll see that for a minute, and then some people capitalize on that. But as the environment ramps up and they can't handle food, then the life gets sucked out of them. But remember, there's filters on Facebook. Filters, there's makeup, plastic surgery, so you look like you're well, but even though you're not, people are not going to say too much. And so you look great until one day, died suddenly. And then they'll blame it on something out there. Oh, God, it's that person who took a V. That's why she died. Oh, it's her years of pretending that she's well. It's years of living up to that image, that filtered image. It was years of taking all those detoxes, cannabis, drugs, alcohol, all that stuff. It was years of abuse that has caused that died suddenly. And then you pass those curses onto your kids. So when your kids are cute, they don't have too much history behind them, but maybe they're in college or in high school and they're playing soccer or doing other stuff, and then they die suddenly on the field and you're like, oh, it's the V. No, it was all the curses you gave to your kids because of the destructive lifestyle that you passed on to your kids internally and externally. Because you haven't changed, Mom. You will not change. You don't change. You're mommy. All sacrificing mommy. And that's the depopulation agenda. When they have you thinking one way, and if you think anything different, or be like, oh, maybe I should change my mind, and then you call that being wrong, they have demonized being wrong. So then for you to justify your lifestyle and your belief system, you always have to be right. So self-righteous that you're willing to sacrifice yourself and your children for this self. Oh, it's all psychological. See, changing was never, ever promoted. That's why all the cures. That's why all the painkillers, because they don't want you to change. The system does not want you to get used to change. The system wants you to stay in your politics, in your religion, and in your science dogmas, because you'll be easier to take out. Just like that, and you'll teach your kids the same thing that you're doing. Even though the environment's all different now, you'll still do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. That's fucking genius. It takes a strong mother and a strong child to change the way they think, to change the way they do stuff. And I'll tell you, the kids take cues from the parents. So the parents are going downhill. So will the kids. That was all by design. Bye.